Hi friends, welcome to lecture 5 of Let's Excel series at TrendBends. I'm your mentor and coach Divanshu Kapoor. So in the last in the last lecture, we were looking at moving and copying sheets from one workbook to the other one. If you want to move a sheet, for example, in this workbook, I have a sheet labeled as Fox. I want to move this sheet from book 1 to book 2, but I want that it should also be there in book 1. That means I'm creating a copy of that. So how do I do that? So Windows users, you need to press control key, and MacBook users, you need to press the option key. Press the option key, click on your left mouse button, click on the sheet and drag it to the other workbook, and you will find that the copy has been created. So Fox is here as well as here. Now, second thing, by default, the values which are captured in the workbook, they are of the nature. Let's see the type. So you will find that this is Calibri body and 12. The font size is 12. If you go to any of the options which are there in ribbon, for example, if I select here, if I keep my cursor there, if I hover up there, so I am hovering my mouse to that place, a tool tip will come. So this tip will tell us, for example, font size is written there. It tells us what that particular object which is there in the ribbon, what does it do. So out here it tells us about the font size, and if I hover it there, it tells us about the font. If I hover it there, it says bold. So similarly, you can find it for other objects there. Now what I want is, I want that the default settings, whenever I open up a new workbook, the default setting by which how the data should appear in the form of font size and font name. If I want to change the settings, what will I do? I'll go to Excel, I'll go to preferences, I'll click on general settings, and you can see that I can change the body font. So default is body font. Let's change it to Arial, and I want to increase the font size, so let me change it to 16, and I'll close this button. So an alert comes, a pop-up is there. What it says? It says that in the current sheet where you're working, these changes won't be effective. If you want that these changes should be reflected upon, what you need to do, you need to close your Microsoft Excel completely and restart it. So let's do that. Let's close this. I don't want to save this file. Let's close this, and I have to exit from it. So now I have shut down my Microsoft Excel. Let me reopen it. Let's create a new workbook. And when I'll type in something, you will see that the font size is 16 and the font is Arial. So this is how you can change your default settings. Now let's work with some formulas today. And we also see how does comment work. So let me open a workbook. I have some data here. Let me zoom in. So what we can do, we can zoom in the data of a file by going at the bottom right place. Here you will see that there is a percentage written. So this tells currently the zoom level is 100%. So I'll just increase it. I think this is sufficient. Okay. Now I have some data here. If I want that this data, for example, this data which is the little scholar is written here, if it is, some of it is not being shown. So what I can do, I can go in between the columns. So if I go hover my mouse to C, it's a down arrow. If I hover it to D, it's down arrow. But in between, you see this cross kind of sign which is there. If you double click it, and it will automatically expand. Another thing which you'll observe here is that the data which is here, this is the text kind of data and this is numeric data. So in total there are 4 types of data in Excel. One is data, So you can say it is text based or character. Second is numeric. Third is boolean. What is boolean? Boolean is basically true and false. We'll see to that. And fourth is error. So there are 8 types of error in in Microsoft Excel. For example, there is name error. It always begins with a hash. So for example, name error and reference error, division error. So there are lots of errors. In total, 8 errors are there. We'll see all about these errors later. So right now, what you will notice here is that by default, the text kind of data which is there, it is always left justified. Now, what does left justify means? It is the orientation where the cell contents, whether they will be aligned to the left margin or to the right margin. So this is the, if I consider this as the margin, so the text is aligned to left side. This is left justified. So how can I change its justification? So if I'll go here, I can do it as center text. I can right justify it, or I can left justify it. So by default, it is left for text data. For numbers, numeric data, it is always right justified. And this is quite natural also. If you remember your primary classes when we started learning the English language, when we started writing it, we always started from the left side of the margin. And whenever we wrote numbers, whenever we did some mathematical calculations, we always did it on the right hand side. So this is what is a natural way of doing, and that is what is represented in Excel as well. Now, third is Boolean data type. Now, what is Boolean data type? For example, if I write in a formula, so please note a formula always begins with an equal to sign. So if any data which contains a formula, it always begins with a equal to sign. So for example, if I say 23 is less than 78, so that is true and the answer will be true. And if I say 23 is greater than 78, so it will result in false. So this is your Boolean data type. Error data types we'll see shortly. I'll give you an example of error data type as well. So let me just delete this. Now, if you see the data which was written earlier, it had no formatting, as in there was no formatting there. Now, what I mean by formatting here is, for example, this data which is there, I have it. There are certain grids which are appearing here, and some of them is bold also. So this formatting which is there, if I want to remove this formatting, what I can do is, but I want that the text should not be deleted. So I'll select this data set by pressing Ctrl A. I go to this option, the pink color, purple color option which is reflecting here. We will click on this, and you will have the options of clear formats. If I click on clear all, the entire data will be deleted. So entire data is gone. I'll press Ctrl Z. I'll undo this. So by pressing Ctrl Z, I can undo my last action. So I have my data again. If I want to remove the formatting, so I'll click on clear formats, and you can see all the kinds of formatting, even the font sizes, font, whatever was there, it has been restored to the default options. So let's undo that. Now let's work with some formulas here. And while working with the formulas, I'll tell you about how does some kind of errors appear. So we'll not discuss all the errors. We'll talk about name error and division error in our discussion today. So let me calculate the sum of the, for example, out here, as we can see the data which is reflected there, there is some kind of utility payment which a person has done. He has paid a school fees, he has paid his mobile bill, and there is some electricity bills, and there are some gas connection bills as well. So if I want to calculate from August to November, what is the total amount which the person has incurred towards school fees, I need to calculate the total of this. So what I'll do, I'll press equal to. One way is that I can numerically enter the values which are there. So I'll press 6500 plus I'll write 7500 plus 8500 plus 7000. So if I do that, obviously this is not the way how we will do it. And if we really had to do it this way, then why are we learning Excel? So that's not the right way of doing it. However, I want to tell you something here. So I'll write correct way of writing total. So the correct way of doing that is I'll press equal to, and I will select the uh, cell address. So E2 is the cell address for the first value which I want to take. I'll press plus, I'll select another one, and I'll select plus one, and I'll select. But there is a better way of doing that. So what is that? I'll label it as total sum. So what is the correct way? So I'll use the inbuilt formulas which are written there. So whenever I write something after pressing equal to, if there is a formula in Excel which is predefined, a list will pop up. So as you can see, if I am typing sum, the option is of sum is coming up. But if I say write total, there is no such option. If I write multiply, there is no such option. If I write percentage, again no such function is there inbuilt in Excel. So we need to learn these formulas, and with practice you will get to know about what kind of formulas are there. So as you will learn the videos at TrendBends, you will get acquainted with all the formulas. We will be discussing almost the entire Excel, which whatever is there given by Microsoft to us. So I'll press sum and I will open the bracket. I'll select the set of cell addresses which I want to calculate the total, and I'll close the parenthesis and I'll press enter. Ignore the green left top, this triangle which is there. Ignore this for a while. You will see that this will get removed very soon. Now, what is the difference between three of them? So the first one, let me drop it down. So one way of doing that is I can drag it till here, and another way is that if I double click on it, it will automatically go to the last row of the dataset and fill in the values. And let me drag this also. So I'll not drag it, I'll double click the fill handle and it is there. Now why this green triangle is coming up at the left top corner of these cells? This is coming up because the formula which is written here and the formula which is written here, they are different. So sometimes Excel suggests you that there might be some error in your data. So it's not necessary that you would want to change the formula or you want to keep it as suggested by Microsoft. Might be that the formula which you want to work upon is the right one and still the green one will show up. So how to remove that? Just click on this and you can click on ignore error. Now uh, if you see in the first set, the total is obviously correct. We can see it from all the three cells which are I2, J2 and K2. All the values are same. However, when I dragged it down, it calculated, it kept the values same. And obviously, it doesn't mean that the total of mobile bill is 29,500. So this is obviously not the correct way of doing. So let's delete this column. So how should we delete a column? How can we delete a column? We'll just go to the column title. So this is I. We'll right click on this and it says delete. So we have deleted this. Now, is this a better way or is this a better? So we'll use the second option because we want to learn the inbuilt functions which are there in Excel. So we'll remove this also. Now, let's uh, look at some other functions. So, for example, if I want to calculate the average of expenditures which has been done in these months, and I also want to calculate what is the maximum bill the person has paid and what is the minimum bill the person has paid. So, how do I do that? So, for average, I'll write AVERAGE. So, that is the formula, and I'll select the cell addresses and it will result in the average value. How do I calculate the maximum value? I'll type in max I'll select the data set, and the maximum value will be returned. So out here you can see 60 out of 6500, 7500, 8500 and 7000. 8500 is the maximum value, and that is returned there. And 6500 is the least value. So let's try that also. So we'll put in min for minimum, and we will just do that, and it's returned. So we can select these, and we want that all these values should be replicated for the other utility bills also. So we'll just double click on this, and our entire data has been calculated. So isn't that handy? Now let me just format it the way it is formatted here as well. So I'll just go to this option. So this is the border option. So by default, bottom order is selected. I don't want the bottom order. I want the entire the table which is there. It should have all the boxes should contain borders. So I click on all borders, and it is there. I will see that there's some difference. This is thick and this is thin. So what I can do, I can just select this row. I can click on thick box border, and I can click on this entire selection, and I click on thick border. Now, now let's look at, let's also bold this. So how do we bold it? So we'll go and press B, and the entire data is bold. How do we centrally justify it? We'll click here, select the data, and we click on center text. Okay. Now, how do we add? For example, there is some comment which I need to add, that probably I have missed this payment. I did not do this payment. So I need to add a comment here. How can I do so? I'll just click on the active cell where I want to add the comment. I'll right click on it, and you see a new comment option is coming up. Let me write the comment. So I'll type in the comment as bill not paid. So once the comment has been entered, you can see when I hover it there, the comment is reflected. Otherwise, it won't be reflected. So I can identify that there is some comment here. Only upon hovering to that cell, that will be revealed. Otherwise, it won't be there. Now let's talk about the errors which are there. So before, so let's delete this data. So the first error is division error, which I want to talk about. So that is division error. So as we know that if I want to divide a number, say 33 by 0, do you think it will result into any value? So this is the first kind of error, which is division error. And what is name error? So if Microsoft Excel doesn't have any formula, so for example multiply, there is no inbuilt formula called multiply, and I say enter two numbers 2 and 3, I want, and I expect that the output should be 6, it will result in name error. So these are two types of errors which I had, since I told you I'll be telling about some errors, yes, but in total there are 8 errors, and we'll be talking about them much later. So let's go back to our formulas once again. So what has happened here is, when we dragged it down, so when the fill handle helped us complete all the formulas on its own. So you see here it is E2H2, and here the data range is E3H3 in the formula bar. In the next cell it is E4 and H4, and next one E5 H5. So it has automatically taken up the next row and calculated the values. So this is called referencing. So there are three types of references there. So this is called references or referencing. So there are three kinds. There is a relative. So by default, this option is always there. Relative referencing is done. So the example which we have seen above is relative referencing. And then we have absolute referencing, and we have mixed referencing. We will be talking about referencing later. So you can just understand right now that the way we auto-populated the formulas, the method used by Excel was relative referencing. Now let's look at one more formula that is called count. So let me just calculate the values which are here. How many total counts are there? So if I select the data range, I see that there are 6 counts: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What if I use the same formula for this column as well? So answer is 4, but there are 6 values in total. So what you can learn here is that whenever we use the count function, it results in the numeric counts only. Whatever data which we have, if the data contains any numeric values, only the counts for that will be revealed. What if I want that all the data types which are there, as I told you, there are 4 data types. So if I want that all the data types should be revealed, so I'll use the function count a, which is equal to count a, and I'll select the data range. Sorry, let me right. So I had not placed the bracket earlier. So let me close the bracket. So count a. So it results in 6. And here again, if I write count a and select the data, you will see that the value will be 6 here as well. If I change the data here to say 5th, so it has gone to the left side, which means that this is text kind of data, and you see the count has dropped to 5, whereas count a is 6. There's one more count option, which is count blank. So for example, if I delete these two values from here, let me delete this. So you see the let me just write count blank, and I'll select the data set. See, it tells us 1, and out here, since all the cells are filled, so it will give us 0. So if I delete this, the number has changed to 1. Did you observe that count A has also decreased? So let me undo this by pressing Ctrl Z. So this is 6 and 0, and if I delete this, so it tells us that there's one blank value and the rest of the values are 5. Now it sometimes it may appear, for example, in this, if I remove this and press a space bar in it. So I have entered a character here and I press enter. Right? So you see, it may appear to us that there are 2 blank cells. However, the count of blank is only 1. What is the difference? In the first cell, there is no space, whereas in the second cell, there is a space. If I remove this, the count blank has increased. So sometimes when we are doing the data cleaning, when we get some data and we find that there are certain cells which are missing, we have to do the count blank option, and we need to clean that data set by removing if there are any spaces. That's it, guys. It was really wonderful teaching this another session. So please subscribe to our channel, keep on liking our videos, and do post the comments. If you have any doubts, you can drop me an email. It's mentioned in the description of this video and all my other videos as well. My email ID is there. You can reach out to me on Twitter, and please be assured, whatever comments or queries you will raise to us, they will be answered very diligently. Keep hooked on to this channel. We'll be posting many more videos on Microsoft Excel. Until then, gracias and adios. Hasta luego.